Hey guys, welcome to a new video. Today we're going to be looking at what is hot in Korea since the new patch, and we've got a couple of cool ones today. Actually, sorry I didn't upload for 3 days. As you can probably hear, my voice is pretty shot, but I lost it completely. Then I sound like I was back in puberty, and now we're here. So while my voice is recovering and not 100%, I'm going to put a summary of every video in the description so you can read instead of listen if you want to do it that way. So for today, I'm going to be listing every pick and why they are there, what's special. So like this first pick is in Xayah, but the reason he is here is because of a new build. The new build is a red smite warrior, so for dueling, Shiv, static Shiv, and infinity edge after that. Basically what Tristana jungle would have built before when we had AD carries. It sounds kind of ridiculous, doesn't it? It is ridiculous. It actually works though. I told my brother Foxshop to play this, so there's actually a full gameplay on his channel where he tried it and it was pretty good. The static Shiv is a big part of this. It gives you really good wave clear. You demolish towers really fast. You have really good split push because of that, but you also have a lot of burst damage. It actually does kind of make sense when you put this together. Like you have AD from warrior, you have attack speed from the Shiv and some crit and stuff, and then you have more AD from the infinity edge. Your entire kit is AD and attack speed reliant, like both these things. We want attack speed for your passive and your Q synergy. We want AD for the ratios on your Q, W, and your R. It is very glass cannon, it's full on ham damage, but we can get away with it because of his ultimate synergy. So with this build, if somebody is in that circle, like that ultimate immunity circle with you, they're not going to last very long. You do a lot of damage. Pressure attack is more common as a keystone, but actually phase rush with this particular build is really popular at the moment. We haven't seen much of this keystone, but it's a very clever rune page. It seems to work really well and it sticks to the enemy as well, so they can't get away. Sion is another one. He seems kind of overpowered. Like I can't actually find a bad matchup for him at the moment. He seems really good. Who would have thought as well, like a tank top laner could be so dominant in the lane phase? It's really weird. Like it mostly revolves around his base damage and his roaming. I actually got boned by this the other day. On the enemy team, there was a challenger top lane Sion. Basically, he entered his lane, he wasn't useful at all, and then he still carried the game with his ultimates. That thing is so powerful. Like, it's the reason Kled is really good at the same time. Like, especially in this meta, if immobile AD carries, they can't dodge your ultimate or the follow-up afterwards. This build is also full tank, right? It's really hard for an AD carry to kill that person with double armor items that early into the game. But with his base damage as well, he can actually turn around and kill you. It isn't really about him killing you. It's more about him lasting forever, honestly. Like he just doesn't die, and that is what makes him so good. It is still Arcane Comet though for a bit more threat, so that does help you kill stuff, especially in the lane phase, but I honestly think he's top tier now in 8.3. If we move on to our next pick for the mid lane, Fizz has been coming back in quite a lot recently. I think basically the main point is that the meta shifts to more slow play and like mages and stuff. Fizz can kill everybody. He is pretty much the best lane phase mid that you can play, I think. If you're better as well than your opponent, you can kind of outplay, you can kill your opponent a lot, and you can get a really big lead out of it. I guess a lot of that is it comes down to skill and skill matchups as well. So either a game goes really amazing or it goes kind of terrible. That seems like Fizz in a nutshell. At least there is one really good thing about this though. He's one assassin who just doesn't really fall off as you go through the game. Like he is still really good late game. Almost every assassin does not follow that pattern. They crush early game. They have really good tools to do that, but they fall off really hard later when they can't kill people. Fizz just is a bit different. He isn't as broken early game as other assassins. He's not as free low early, but he will continue to kill people really easily in team fights, and a lot of that is because of his ultimate and the damage that comes with it. It is also partly because he's way more slippery and difficult to lock down and difficult to kill, something that most assassins struggle with. They go in, they kill somebody, but they can't get out afterwards. Fizz doesn't really have that problem. That kind of thing as well, like being able to dodge crowd control that's everywhere in this meta, is actually really good, and it must be making him better as well. When I do these videos, I do normally try and put at least one champion per role in the video, so no matter what you play, you still get something out of it. But for AD carry, like we have Ezreal, Varus, and Vayne making up basically half of the AD carry pool. That doesn't leave us with very much, right? So what we can do is look at Xayah, and specifically Xayah with Rakan. So Xayah works a lot like Caitlyn, actually the same game pace and stuff like that, like how the game actually unfolds in front of her. Unless she gets ahead, she's scary in the lane phase, but then dips a bit mid game. Just isn't that effective. It's kind of like why she doesn't have a 3-item build. She uses short range and honestly doesn't offer a ton in team fights. Like she stays very safe, but she doesn't really output a ton of damage yet. Late game, it turns around. This is the kind of Caitlyn effect, right? She's becoming one of the best AD carries to play now late game, which she wasn't before. Especially in Korea, this is a good thing because they can fight early game, they can play aggressive, win lane, and accelerate her build. So basically, they reach late game build in the mid game stage, like time wise. She is very safe with her ultimate, which is great. You don't need your team very much, but she has a lot of outplay potential. Another thing that Koreans love, especially especially with her root and her burst damage. Then late game, as we said, she will stand a really good chance to carry. A lot of that is with her massive crits, like you're building so much crit chance anyway, and her W boosting that damage as well. A lot of people have gone back to using Fleet Footwork and Sorcery secondary now, taking Gathering Storm to buff her late game even more. As we said though, the other part of this is Rakan, right? On his own, he is not that amazing. Decent, but nothing really that special, and mainly because Riot gutted his early game a little while ago. Rakan is still a beastly teamfight engaged champion and can honestly hard carry games if he gets to that point now, which is a little bit harder. There are two things with this. So number one, Xayah being his AD makes lane way stronger and safer as well. So that kind of covers that weakness up a little bit and you're actually able to fight a lot more. Number two, Untitled Spellbook, taking Ignite and Exhaust for the lane phase. A lot of people are doing this to cheese the early game, especially with Xayah as the AD carry, because as we said, you're a lot more potent, you can get more kills. Basically, Rakan isn't really worth the mention in this video on his own, but if you're playing him with Xayah, it makes a duo lane really deadly and a really good pair. Kayn got a lot better this patch. It's still not ranked like the highest ever, but Kayn is always pretty popular, like Lee Sin at the bottom really at the win rates, but not actually for now, like he's pretty decent. I do wonder though if it's actually because he is not as popular anymore in Korea this patch. He's kind of like dropping off a little bit, so only people that actually are good at him are playing him now. The only reason this champion is not overpowered, I think, is because he has to transform and he's just kind of weak early game. Sounds pretty obvious as the idea of Kayn, right? But he's actually really weak to really strong. After 25 minutes into a game, he jumps from a really bad win rate to one of the best, like pretty much instantly as well. The only thing that would have changed at that point is he would have transformed. The side that seems to be winning more this patch looks to be Red Kayn or Rust. It would make sense as well. You have the crowd control, the front line that we kind of need in this meta that like Sejuani brings, for example. Not many people play it actually, but Dark Harvest is pretty sick on him as well. I'm guessing that is Blue Kayn though, but something a bit different if you want to try that. I saw Karthus popping up a lot more in 8.3, and it wasn't really until I looked at the runes that I kind of saw why, that it makes sense, I guess. Everyone has swapped away from stopwatch now, which is pretty weird because you can use it and still do a lot of damage, but they take this page now with presence of mind. If you think about it, that is actually gross, by the way. Free E, free Q as well. You know how mana hungry Karthus actually is, and now we go ham for 7 seconds for free mana, which is pretty interesting. That page even gives you more ultimate cooldown reduction and more damage as well. Even your ultimate is going to do 10% more damage normally because most of the time it's used as a finisher. It seems like kind of everything is aligned at once for Karthus this patch, and he's actually really good. Winning a good amount of meta matchups as well, like versus a normal like a Xayah and Twisted Fate and stuff. Zoe seems to be a bit of an issue though, and Kassadin, but thankfully in Europe and North America we don't really play Kassadin much. I've actually seen a few people as well in Korea running Predator on him, by the way. I think Scar is doing this as well, but they use it and apply the damage with his ultimate. It's pretty dumb, but it actually works. Now this next one is a lot of lower ranks and it's kind of just like an alternative. So Zyra and Brand are doing a lot better now, especially early game. Zyra is not very good versus tanks and engage at all, but if you put her versus an ardent champion like Janna or Lulu or Soraka, she will actually do really well against them. The new remnant thingy that saves you buying a Sightstone saves her a bunch of gold, which means you get a quicker Leandries and a lot of like brutal damage at that point in the game. That is really the reason you pick her, to be honest. She gets Leandries, Rylai's quicker, and at that point kind of takes over. She's not amazing afterwards, you get blown up a ton, but at that point you can really abuse it. As I said, it's just a bit different from like all of these tanks and art champions we have in bot lane right now. You can actually run damage as long as you're not against engage and actually do really well. So the new Swain came out this patch, and let's have a look at how Korea is actually playing the new guy. So lane phase, even split between top and mid lane at the moment. Not a terrible win rate considering it's new, but isn't great either. It's kind of interesting. Normally new champions have good win rates early game, but then people struggle to kind of team fight and end with them because they don't really understand the champion yet. They haven't really learn them properly. Swain is the opposite. Seems completely shy early game, but then improves at like 4+ item team fights, which isn't really how it normally works. Basically, what this means, I think, is that Swain actually has a really good kit for team fighting, but he kind of needs like 4 items to actually be able to do it properly, which is a bit of a problem. Runes are mostly Aerie, honestly. Seems to be good with his ultimate and his poke as well. Untitled Spellbook is pretty decent though. Definitely a good choice if you want to run that instead. Items, Rod of Ages and Zhonya's seem to be the rush every single game. Like, is what everybody takes. If though you get to Leandries and Rylai's after those, they have really good win rates actually. If you get to that point in the game, which we said is kind of difficult, but having like that core of 4 items seems to be really, really good. Also, it is Sork boots. Some people are building Tabby, they're building Mertreads, they're still building like a tank, honestly, with Spirit Visage. That is okay and stuff, but like the new way to really play him, the best way I think is to actually get more of a damage heavy build. That seems to be what is actually playing around his strengths now. If we have a look at matchups, mid lane he is beating like Vladimir and Kassadin because they are short range, so we can kind of bully them a little bit more. Meta mid laners are relatively even, so like the standard ones you're going to pick, but he loses pretty hard versus poke or just like really high range. He can't really get close enough. Top lane he is decent versus tanks, kind of gets a free lane out of that, but bruisers are tearing him a new one for now, so you definitely don't want to pick him against like a Riven or a Fiora. So there you go, the newest picks to come out of Korea. I hope you enjoyed the video and my voice wasn't too bad. Like the video if you did, but for now I'll leave you with the robots.